Hi, for today's video we're going to be making some portrait miniatures. Now long ago, before photography, people would send a portrait miniature to someone, a little tiny circle with a painting of themselves inside, sometimes encrusted with jewels, and they would say, this is my picture, would you like to marry me? And that's how it worked in those days. Or if you had a sweetheart, you might have their portrait painted and keep it always in your pocket. This might be a nice thing to send to someone that you're missing. And I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful encrusted portrait miniature in just a moment. So let's get started. So here are my little portrait jewels. Now the one at the end is painted, the one in the middle is actually a sewn one, and I just wanted to show you that one because I thought biro would create the same effect. And this one here is a pencil on paper, and I've encrusted it with jewels. And I'm going to show you how to make that now. So you could paint or you could use pencil. And if you don't have any jewels, what I'm going to show you is I've got my little pot of jewels here, but I've also used a magazine and some red paper to punch out some little circles using my hole punch. So that's another thing that you could do. You could punch out some little circles using your hole punch, and you could use those to decorate your portrait. So let's get going with how to create the little portrait. I've got some lids of different sizes and I've drawn around them. I put them down on my paper and I've just drawn around them. Now this one, I rather like the fact that it was gold, so I drew around it, but then I decided that I was going to make it smaller, so I cut it out a little bit, maybe a centimetre inside, like that, because I thought it would be nice to use this gold rim as the rim of my portrait. So that would make rather a small one, I think. I could also use this one for that. So this one, if I'm going to go like this, just draw a parallel line. Oh, quite difficult for me, I'm not very exact. All the way around, and I'm going to make my portrait inside there. And then when I've done that, I'll cut it out, I'll put it on here, and I'll be putting some gems on. So this one, I'm going to do this one here because I've already cut it out. But I would just do it on the sheet of paper and cut them out afterwards. And you could do a few. You could do a few the same size and decide which one you like the best. You could do some portraits of your family. I'm just going to do a very small portrait of my dog Zooey. So this is going to be my little Zooey. She's got little ears like this. She's got very, very dark eyes. It's going to be a little Zooey picture. Do you know who's really good at drawing Zooey is my daughter. I should have got her to do it. Zooey's got little dark ears like this. And she often looks quite sad, and her eyes are absolutely enormous. So you could do a portrait of all the animals that you know. You could do a portrait of people, you could do a self-portrait, or you could do a sort of fantasy portrait of an imaginary king or princess or someone that you admire. So I've got this there, and I'm going to take my Pritt stick now, and I'm going to stick that like this onto there. Kind of like that. Now I've got some Yoo-hoo, but you could just as easily use white PVA for this part. The part of this is to be quite sparing with the glue. You just need a little bit. So that's my portrait. Now I could have coloured Zooey in. I could have made her a little sort of a slightly browny colour, and that might have been a good idea because she might show up a bit more on the white background. Make her a little bit brown like that. Now I've got my glue, and I'm going to take just a few of these little jewels, and like I said before, if you don't have any jewels you can use hole punch. So here's a little bit of hole punch. Now a magazine is a good thing. If you take a page from a magazine like this and some hole punch, and you hole punch a few little coloured bits out, you can make some pretty nice jewels. So I've got some little different coloured ones, and that's for anyone who isn't near to a little pot of beads, someone who might not have that. You could use old hammer beads for this as well. So that's my little tiny Zooey gem. I'm going to keep on doing that in a sec, but first of all I'm going to show you how to fix on a loop so that you can hang these up. So here's the one that I made before, and I've got a little loop here, and I'll show you how to make that. I've got a piece of pipe cleaner. I took it like this. There's a thread there. I took it like this and I twisted it, and then I had a little bit behind, and I just twist that around because I don't need it. And then I've got a little loop. I turned over my miniature, and I took a piece of tape, and I made sure it was in the right place, obviously, at the top, and then I secured it like that. And then I've lost one of my sequins, And then I've got a way of hanging it onto the wall, and I could do the same with my little Zooey portrait. So that one's a fantasy picture. I think, oh, I've accidentally made a little moon. That's rather nice. I'm going to put that on as well. So there are my two portraits. Now, another thing you could do is you could use biro, and I quite like biro drawing, and I wanted to show you this strange sewn miniature that I found, because the person's taken the trouble to do a little border, and I thought I might copy them. So I'm going to do a nice dark scribbly border. It's going to be like this, like that. I'm going to go all the way around, and you can make all sorts of interesting patterns with biro. So biro is another way of doing this. And you could be like someone from ancient times. You could post this to someone who you haven't seen for a while. And I'm going to make this into someone with big curly hair like this, big rolls of curly hair, and someone from long ago. A very beautiful lady with beautiful eyes like this. Let's hope she was a nice person as well. So keep working on that like this, and I'm going to give her maybe a little crown like that in her hair. So biro is a good way of making something really stand out. So that's my biro drawing, and I hope maybe you can imagine hanging these on the wall arranged in a little group, as you may see in a museum like the Victoria and Albert Museum. There's lots of displays of these portrait miniatures, and you could go and see that in the future. So I think this is going to be a great project for you, and I hope you have fun.